Hello, Judge Napolitano's Judging Freedom YouTube channel asks, who speaks for U.S. and for Russia? There is a breaching method that has been entrenched at modern countries A through Z, and it senses through our own self-value collusion slash S. And it shows like there are people from my area that I never had anything to do with. And it's nothing personal. People, I would leave this out. People leave this out. But see, there are police chiefs retired with the same house, and one's tied to them, involved with the police department. Faked conversations with me as a kid and as an adult. They put fake conversations and ties between kids and foreign and domestic at the same time. The courts have had all kinds of collusions and relative delusions too. They're putting fake transcripts there to hide it. Fake conversations with people about religion. They're criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. The names of the people of the sciences because they were child abused relative to what I caught them doing with the campuses and names next to the campuses I went to who have ties to a family named DeMorrow, facilitated to it but with a Harris family and others putting fake things in databases. And way worse, predicate acts method slash S collusion slash S. And these are increasingly people with judges and prosecutors and their family members, where their sense and sensibilities are being and have been used remotely criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. At the same time, with names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, judges, prosecutors, victims, advocates, their family members, they're putting fake things in databases as collusions with crime scenes together. They have female judges involved, self-value, collusion slash S, right where it's not self-value. Simply their sense and sensibilities, to use Jane Austen's phrase, they can't be communicated with legitimately because of the collusion slash S that is next to each campus connected. They're building upon. Even truths they put in databases, they're only capable of using them for lies or to self-value others, and more importantly, to self-value others using them for predicate acts methods. See, the names of the people of the sciences have been self-value collusion slash S with a predicate acts with facts method slash S. I am not a lawyer. Nature itself shows us if you replace what black people's whites of eyes communicates and pretend not to realize, even if you're not realizing, they have delusions relative to the names of the people of the sciences where they have short words obligated to them. Instead, they use their knowledge of good and evil to get over on anyone. Like how James Madison had the counter extort with the plural founders behind him and his plan. Those plural founders, they directed us to understand why and how they did not have the free speech or the security to afford us to understand to know their names specifically. The only name they directed us to understand why and how they did not have safety to do that. The only name they could declassify was James Madison's. And then James Madison became a president slash chief also. He still did not have free speech. He detailed why and how. There were things like slavery, even entrenched northern colonies and southern colonies, more than 13. Before he was born, there were rules that no one wanted. But if they tried to speak up about it, they were not just internationally monitored conversations. The difference of their guilt, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, terrorists, A through Z, nutbags. Good people forced to be nutbags because they came through and pretending other. Otherwise, that body was incensed. That's what the value of the people and their sense and sensibilities behind descriptions of how and why there was voting on slavery. Anyone entertaining voting on slavery can't speak for the Constitution unabridged. They can't speak for James Madison. James Madison's plan forced both the North and the South to fight against slavery by making them, it was against the law for them to do it syntactically. And everyone was measured and maintained if they were going to do that or not, which had nothing to do with that. Are they going to speak up against women's suffrage? Why and how it's called women's suffrage? Leaving out the breaching method is being sense and sensibility, sensing for the breaching method. Self-value collusion /S against others and selves. Otherwise, sensing for the breaching method, anybody not with syntax, even if it's a majority of people, and the breaching method adapts. Even if it's everyone united, any country, any grouping of countries. All voicings for humanity, if they're not in line with this, through everyone out, the names of the people, sciences, the industries, counters, all collusion /S as an array. As systems tactical ulterior from the one that generates totally distinct individual species bodies, each one made up a whole bunch of individual bodies, and with group differences like male and female generated by it. So we can discern nature's nature and the value of it here, or of it forced away from here, not as death, but as forced space nature transfer, as a negative identity of relationship to itself, nature's self, the body that is generating, totally distinct, but also non-distinct species bodies. So we can discern that what is distinct about them and what is non-distinct about them is about how all bodies share nature's body, a volume, and the rest of its complete nature that won't fit, that which is too great and too finite, and grouped in ways that are beyond our capacity with the simultaneously. In other words, the rest of its complete nature is manifest as parts of itself. This is why and how parts of time are shown to us. We are shown the only increasing value of seasons that aren't even here yet, even if they never get here. We are constantly shown that we are and have been human systems abridged, and that we have to respond to it. As a breaching method knew that nature would increasingly demonstrate to us. The breaching method knew also that nature would demonstrate to us, as our founders tried to, but they're replaced where our founders communicated, even though it's known. To have the book, self-value /S of the words of the people at the time, pretending not to realize. And really, they even have the experts not realizing. And while tactically delusions wrought too, mixed, they're not supposed to leave out how James Madison's plan. And the founders behind him had to force the rest of the founders. And everyone had to hide their actual motivations. So they were given scripts. Oh, you guys pretend it's about tea taxes. You guys pretend this. In other words, meanwhile, slavery was entrenched in northern colonies, southern colonies. We have the ability now to force free speech and to counter sense. Who's sensing when people try to speak freely? So there are Marines, I don't know all their names, on Facebook, and some of them are named Kurt. And that's also brought up by Officer Jerry Miller, who's also one of the ones with an Inspector Mike with fire departments, and people with Russia named Peruta, involved with some sexual and medical offenders of kids, including with women judges and educators who grew up faking things that other people told them to, with their family members and sense and sensibilities. So these are people that can't afford to get on paper, and that's why they had self-value collusions /S with child abusers, leaders of kids, years apart, first forced. And I recorded more forced with the last one, the principal being involved with way worse than upskirt pictures he was put in jail for, reportedly. And that jail had collusion /S with him before that. These are people with their kids' roles interbranch too. They're bringing their kids in and their emotions and passions dishonestly with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, involved with them with rape threats online, before and after the World Trade Center with people that were yelling them out before the World Trade Center attack. And former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants, their family members, people that sued them, and the neighbors of their family members. They have collusions at the same time together with the news too, with predicate acts against me, and intercities, police departments, with families that have been forging and switching names, and putting predicate acts into databases at campuses I went. And further, as one's intercities who have roles with untimely deaths and murders. And one of the untimely deaths is one of the ones involved with the murders at next to Trinity College, with people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed at and next to Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut. And they have collusion/S with intelligence families near me that went out of their way to put fake ties, fake natures of ties to me, as time collusions with a whole bunch of other countries, and people putting predicate acts with facts in databases per a method recorded there too, a method/S. And so the suburbs have this design from America to Russia to Ukraine, where the suburbs were designed tactically denatured to have nature demonstrate with negative value nature progressions, acts and natures. They can't even speak about presidents. How could they speak about Native Americans? Because Native Americans, nature shows us too, even though, president/chief shows us this too. All Native Americans at the time enabled, even if they weren't on James Madison's plan, and the plural founders who counter-extorted from inside more than 13 colonies already entrenched north and south, even with things like slavery, to maintain no capable that no one wanted collusion with /S. Otherwise, but if they spoke up about that or started to physically go against it, they would be censored. If they would speak even for women. And we have all the natures of theater, hyper additionally collusion/S with their campuses and with their senses and sensibilities. And when they speak about emotions and appreciate them as value, it is dishonest and tactically delusions raw. Emotions are about science, the science of the simultaneous/hyper simultaneous, about equality of fact should be nature prevented. Black people's peer who disbelieves. So a Peruta family, in other words, it was in my city. There was a Tom Peruta in my 6th grade class. I had basically no interactions with him. In other words, one time he near the door, we were about to go into the thing. He threw a ball. It broke my little remote control car. I didn't care. It has like a ball on elastic. And then one time he wanted me to go to his house, and he showed me tied to it. It was like he had a pink Volkswagen Beetle remote control car. But it was him making a fake exception of knowing me. It was very short. And he has roles with a former Mayor Gold, with a whole bunch of other countries, and other people from Russia I don't know the names of, and people from Ukraine, who are at the same time involved intercities with Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, with people planting evidences on my street, and with judges and prosecutors personally and professionally involved with them. And at the campuses, I went intercities. And I was living next to Central Connecticut State University in New Britain when I was at Trinity College, for 2 of the years I was there. And these are increasingly, before that I went there, my neighbors had collusions there with a whole bunch of people involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, too, and various judges and prosecutors and police departments who forged names and switched names. And there's a Darth Vader with Trinity College who's involved with the Joshua Striker, who's involved with a whole bunch of people said that Ray Collusions was involved with them, with the Joshua Striker, and the Subby Bajerio. A Subby Bajerio is further one of the ones that have their kids involved with the kids of judges and prosecutors, with sexual and medical offenders of kids, and people further hyper additionally with the corrections offices and judicial branch offices being and having been used remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions, raw. And these are also people with the parks and recs, further with drugs and medicines crimes with Hartford Hospital, under the guise of their roles working with unmarked police forms and intelligence. They are putting fake records in databases and shown needs to hide that. And we don't have a side here. I don't care if they served their country, what they did. Get them on paper, one name and sequence. It's all fake. A Leahy family faked conversations with me, Judge Napolitano. They have roles with the use of your sense and sensibilities remotely, criminally foreign influenced, with knowingly or not, with Wethersfield Police and Fox Connecticut News and your social media before and after you were with Fox News. They won't respond to me. I don't even have a phone, Judge Napolitano. These are people every year since the World Trade Center attack involved with all kinds of natures of organized crimes, intercities connected, and with the ones with the same house/S, involved with a whole bunch of people next to Hartford Hospital, with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me, and roles with credible threats of violence with weapons, etc. They play punk trick games, like a guy threatened to stab my eyes, associated with a Smith house near me, involved with some untimely deaths, and Wethersfield Police that faked conversations and ties to me as a kid and now as an adult, and with this Collusions house, they have a fellow Collusions related to them, who non-verbally demonstrated to me he has collusions further with some sexual and medical offenders of kids, with a Bob Chase and Whiting Forensics, and I can't get them on paper. There's some Mendez police too. Wethersfield Police faked conversation with me, and me being at the police station and speaking to them was in awe as a kid and now as an adult. A bunch of people tied to a Christopher Walters too sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. My neighbors, intelligence families near me, have collusions with him. Also, his roles with people at and next to Trinity College, named Charlie Bowes, who was reportedly a quarterback at Trinity College. I never saw him around the inside of campus in my life. He's involved next to Fox Connecticut News, with people involved with the state judicial branch offices and corrections offices, with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and planting fake things in databases. And next to Fox Connecticut News, with child abusers 3 years apart, first 4 roles, with the people tied to them. I don't know them. That was just brought up in confessions to pretend other. He was trying to pretend other with the sister of a Charlie Bowes, or who it was. They have Old Town Cafe next to a Webb House, now renamed the Webb Stevens Museum. It also has something to do with some girl who has been planting evidence, like people that time where I was going to be are increasingly tied to a former Mayor Gold and his daughter and son. I never saw his son in my life. And his daughter, I only know her. She tried to make it look like I communicated with her when I didn't. Like a sequence shift planting into databases. She increasingly has federal evidence of crimes and predicate acts and child abuse roles and wrongdoing roles with people with the side entrances to Wethersfield's Millwoods Park through time. Now, these are Marines on Meadowgate Street who have wire and mail crimes with Wethersfield Police in the Britain Superior Court years ago, years before the World Trade Center attack. Short, long term. These are also ones short term who have collusions, like Hartford courts have a Emily or Amy. I don't know if either one of those is her correct name. Associated with Alina's Pizza too, with a Daryl Sullivan and others, with former director of the FBI Robert Luskin and a Robert Chevery, his lawyer, and people from that were involved with the principal being upskirt nature. It has something to do too with the Chris Walters. Said that there's a Spada family too. These are probation court judges' family members and people tied to them are involved with the corner of Knott Street and Walker Hill, for example, and corners along Route 175, and houses and families next to campuses that don't know people at all, and they pretend they were influenced to pretend other with people that recorded. The only time I know them is them planting and coming here to plant evidence in sequence shifts, make it look like we're a group together. In other words, they have people repeat things that others say when there's no means to respond to it. You know, the courts were already shown they need to hide how they appreciated words like hearsay. I'm not even a lawyer. We don't have to be. We have black pupils, whites of eyes to discern criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw readings of statutes, precedent, self-value while being used remotely to pretend other for the breaching method that has roles with the motivations of people, replacing black pupils, whites of eyes. So they have roles with fire departments too. But with psychiatry is one of the things with the interbranch, where the names of the people of sciences individually grouped and together. They use remotely criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, replacing what our founders left to be communicated for James Madison. James Madison detailed how and why Americans, no one wanted. Our founders wanted nothing to do with slavery. There was a breaching method entrenched and censoring everyone by having everyone only permitted collusion/s with such sick things against themselves and against others. Fact, true, nature wise, agree. Otherwise, that body was censored and was adapted to, including if it was a majority of people, including if it was everyone. Countries A through Z are now operated through an as systems tactical ulterior from that one generating communications replaced to our names A through Z. We are now systems tactical ulterior from the one that generates all group differences or shows us that when we are, the moment we will be using a systems abridged from its own. We could ignore nature's nature, but it forces a special difference from here. And that's our own, which it uses to show us how we are hyper additional nature. We're automatically temporary positive here. Everything's relative to positive and negative simultaneously as a quality of diffusion, the way it is. This is also relative to why the beginning of the Old Testament says only defend right here, where the names of the people, the sciences will come together, and the part that comes before it. But the preaching, but the religious books, not just the Old Testament. The Quran was also written with consciousness that the differences, A through Z, they would have their differences used remotely by the breaching method, including the people that defend the sciences or defend the religions. The difference of their guilt collusions or the people attacking those religions are indifferent to it as an array. Speaking, that's why the beginning of the Old Testament says, only defend right here, where the names of the people of sciences will come together in the part that comes before it. That's before even the part with Adam and Eve. But see, people don't even know this part, and that's says only defend this part, but no one even knows it. Same thing with the Old Testament and with the Quran. It says all that matters is if someone's going to be honest about their use of, I'm paraphrasing, the scientific value, of the name of nature, of the body of it. In other words. But it's also part of the reason we need to agree on the name or not is because there's this scientific value. You have to teach about nature showing us, though, it is functional, how it is hyper invisible, but but still discernible distinctly from how it is invisible, but still discernible. This is what we are discerning, where and how we could discern that totally distinct species bodies: birds, fish, sharks with black pupils, whites of eyes. No. In other words, two eyes. I don't know if sharks have sexes, but the birds have sexes. In other words, animals. These are two distinct identities of hyper-invisible but still discernible parts of the rest of the complete nature of nature. Like, for example, the cell body, cell nucleus, cell wall /S, and appreciation of gases and their elements, and water and its elements, and the identity coming through this. This is nature showing us answers. But we have nature's method, and answers were placed, pretended debatable. That's why we have to, and that's gotten away with because we have to address the books. They have criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought syntax and syntax nature, as it was inside the school book depository associated with the assassination of President/Chief Kennedy, as it was and is with the modern equivalent. The syntax of the names of the people of the sciences is sick. They have replaced why and how we're supposed to not allow it to be pretended. Anyone was our founder besides James Madison. Everyone in that constitutional convention was extorted and counter-extorted. Everyone involved with the Declaration of Independence was. Everyone involved with the Civil War was. Black People's Peer. Please, Judge Napolitano, get Wethersfield Police on paper, one name in sequence within the Britain Superior Court Harper Courts. They're not going to hide what I caught them doing at West Hartford and with those locations with people from involved with Wethersfield. Joe DeMauro and a Ray Collusions said they have syntax, federal evidence is crimes, with people at and on the sides of the community center. They also confirmed this because it was also demonstrated by others and non-verbally. Detective Dillon, I never had a verbal conversation in my life. He's in Crete when I was a kid, and when I'm an adult, he's been planting evidence on all sides of my house with the people involved too, with more sexual medical offenders of kids and uses of that. There's a use of the roles with a Jewish algebra teacher I had. There were proofs that she was spying on me, where I said when I was in fourth grade, which when I was in fourth grade, increasingly those people have ties to body dumping spots. And putting fake ties, fake nature ties to me, fake motivations for it. I was only polite to them. In other words, I wouldn't even have communications with them. In other words, the people that were putting fake things in databases with names next to each of the campuses I went to try to make it look real. And they'll tell you this when you ask them properly. See, people use the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. The hierarchies are breached. The difference of their guilt or the overt criminal enterprise, bribe ones, that's all mixed in at the same time. Even their roles of names next to body dumping spots in West Hartford, involved with an 80 Carriage Hill Drive, with a bunch of people. I don't know if he knows about it. I'm sure he doesn't know, even to the extent, if he does know about it. They have roles with different home break-ins through the years, and ones that were around the same time. And they had a girl involved with different people that were involved with it. Like a Joe DeMauro one time. And other people I don't know the names of yet involved. And there was untimely deaths years apart. And it has something to do with the roles with one at Trinity College, even if it was made up, because they were involved with other predicate acts, federal evidence crimes, identity theft and frauds there, slanders. And Eric Oliveira is one of the ones that sought me out. Never tried to contact him. He sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. He has roles with people with the state judicial branch offices and conjunctions to it and to that, with his family, with a Joshua Stryker, and with people with UPS and shipping locations. To have roles with them with the corner of Griswold Street and Fairlane Drive, with shipping with 2 shipping families. And he had a girlfriend next to them. And like it has something to do with their roles with a Dean Alford. A Dean Alford put fake conversations and ties to me in the database with a Joshua Stryker and former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and some Darth Vader, some officer that uses the name Darth Vader over the phone, who's involved with them. With untimely deaths at Trinity College, with people on my street who had roles with another one. With a Robert Rodriguez, he confirmed that to me on Facebook things, and then they took my Facebook page because I caught them. I didn't respond to him 2 times when he was planting evidence on my street. The only 2 times I saw him on my street. He's involved all along Route 3 and conjunctions to it and to that, and the sides of a religious spot on Route 3 with foreign and domestic intelligence. He has syntax regarding the word logistics too. These are people that have tied a whole bunch of people who are tied with the intelligence community, who first fake natures of ties to me, at the same time with other countries, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and child abusers, leaders of kids. I couldn't believe they would get away with that in the past. Get them on paper, one name in sequence. A Leahy family at Hartford Hospital. Have a Judge Killian too, and have a Dr. Zeman involved with them. 3 times. They have 2 times they totally made stuff up to force me into mental evaluation. Totally made things up. There was no problems at all with everything. They made rape threats. I had to have that. I called to have that reported, and they forced me for mental evaluation for 30 days. And then again, 30 days. The first time I was there for 3 days, I didn't speak with anyone. This Leahy family, they worked together. There are proofs that more than one of them has the name Brendan Leahy, but there were also females in their family there. Like whole ages of their family are criminally foreign influenced interstates and intercities with them. And these are personally and professionally. One's involved with a Brian Silver, and who is involved with all kinds of confessions on my street with them too. Well, Rick Sanpaglione sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. A Brian Silver with the Britain Superior Court and a Brendan Leahy has collusions and had collusions increasingly with at and next to Central Connecticut State University in DeBrick, Connecticut, and with people on Covington Street. They sought me out years later to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm this after the World Trade Center attack. These are also ones involved with people named Scalora, that Wethersfield police and the news media have recorded the news media collusion with them. The news media faked conversations with me about the World Trade Center attack. Connecticut networks and the intelligence next to them have people named Scalora who have roles with Trinity College with communications and Central Connecticut State University communications with Saudi Arabia and all the different countries involved. Mark Violet is one of the ones involved with drugs and medicines crimes with Hartford Hospital, putting fake transcripts too, identity thefts and frauds there. And that's not far from Trinity College. And they have other child campuses there, and houses and businesses involved with the Mark Violet, with others who planted evidence on my street, with the family like Collo and Smith, further involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids and of adults. And identity theft, fraud, slanders. These are judges speaking fake things in databases. Where they have people, there's no means, they have no writing. If they write something, they're going to read it first. Get them on paper, one name in sequence. Watch what I caught Sandy Hook involved with. Taita Almanza, Tuno. Yeah, yeah.